For more on protests, summits, and song, I'm joined by Summer Love, who's releasing her new film, Sounds Like a Revolution, on June 25th, the eve of the G20 summit. Summer, thanks for coming in. So I got to ask you right off the bat, tell us about your film. Describe it for us.
Sounds Like a Revolution is a film about the new wave of protest music in America, and it essentially asks the question, what happened to protest music since the 1960s?
Well, what has happened to protest music since that time?
Well, it's a very different context from the 1960s in that you see an increasing corporatization of the music industry that generally tends to be risk averse. So you don't have large corporations who want to partner up a political song. If you're trying to sell Coke, or if you have to report to shareholders, you may not want to have artists who are incredibly political and have an overt, angry message on your label.
Is that change made evident in your film?
Absolutely. We look at it from the early years, from the 1960s, what was going on with artists like David Crosby and Neil Young when Ohio was originally written.
No doubt.
In response to the Ohio massacres. And then we go all the way through to today, where we see a new wave of artists that are no longer beholden. Protest music is no longer beholden to one genre. It's across the musical spectrum. So you have it in, you have it in pop music, but you also have it in punk music and hip hop and reggae and roots. It's very diverse today.
Well, you talk about a new wave of protest music out there in all genres of music, but there's also a new wave of security and police activism out there. And how has that changed throughout the course, or how did you note that change throughout the course of your making of your film?
Well, the film has taken over 7 years to make, and we followed artists in 2004 during the Republican National Convention in New York City, and there was an intense police presence there. But in 2008, when we went to the Republican National Convention in Minneapolis, Minnesota, I saw a great difference in the militarization of the police there. They were wearing actual gas masks, in riot gear, snipers on the roof, a lot more police presence that was very intimidating.
Real quickly, Summer, because we have to wrap up, but how do you see artists of today expressing themselves in the political way or in ways of protest? Is it the same, will it have the same impact as it did in the 60s? So we still remember all those songs.
Well, will music change the world? I can only quote what I heard from, one of the most political artists of our time, Pete Seeger, and he said, all of my life I've seen artists all of my life, I've seen the rulers try and control what kind of music that people hear, because it will make them feel angry when we want them to be passive, and it will keep people from fighting when we want them to fight. So can music change the world? I don't know, but it definitely will instill rebellion.
Wow, I hope so. Summer Love's documentary, Sounds Like a Revolution. It premieres in Toronto on the eve of the G20 summit, how's that for good timing, on June 25th, and in Ottawa on July 2nd. We have more information on our blog at blogs.canoe.ca/canoe live. We're going to take a break now, but when we come back, we've got sports and entertainment.